This is Karen with newclevelandradio.net, and it is time for Avoid the Maze. We've all been through the maze. We can't escape it. But what we can escape is how we get through it. I used to look at the maze as it was a challenge that I thought I didn't have the skills to get through. But then I realized one day, wait a second. Other people have walked through here. They're not lying on the ground dead. So guess what? There's got to be another way out. And I would find it. Today, my guest is Dea Irby. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, the first time today I've said a name right. Pat myself on the shoulder. I met Dea through podmatch.com. And what I love about this organization is that I get to meet people who are helping other people, whether it's writing a book, coaching, doing TED Talks. We're all here sharing our experiences. So Dea, I'm going to leave it there and say, give us some background.
Okay. Dea, you said it right the first time.
Yeah.
Dea, like an idea. I grew up in a small Mississippi town where everybody knew everybody. And I thought that my normal of feeling like I belonged was what everybody had. I mean, you had to behave because if you didn't, then Aunt Pat would tell your mom, or somebody would tell you, Aunt Pat to tell your mom. And but there was this a real anchor, a belonging, a sense of like, I'm safe here. I know I have an identity. And I thought, that's normal. You would walk down the street and people would stop and say, hey, how's your mom and them? And
Yep.
They really cared. Isn't that what everybody experiences? No. When my husband graduated from graduate school and we moved 13 hours away from anything or anybody I knew.
Wow.
I would meet people and they would go, so I didn't get how's your mom and them? Or I think we're third cousins. Yeah. Nothing. It was like, I don't care. And I didn't have that sense of belonging. Well, not belonging like at the library, but that belonging on the Cheers TV show where everybody knows your name.
Right. Yep.
It wasn't there. And for the first time in my life, I realized the pain of isolation, not belonging, not being able to have a connection with people. And then I realized that is the normal for many people, that I had been blessed with a community where I knew I belonged. And it's a basic human need, right? We all need to feel like we belong somewhere in this maze.
And it's getting worse today.
Oh,
my husband and I were having this conversation a couple of weeks ago. Now with our one son in Texas, my other son in Chicago. I have family on the East Coast, family on the West Coast. And I said, why are we staying here in Ohio? We're all by ourselves. Now, yes, we do have friends, and he does have a job. I can take my job wherever I want. So, that's not an issue. But the two of us talked about it, and we said, there's going to come a time here real soon that we're just going to sell off what we have, and we're either moving east or west. And I said to him, that is sort of scary. And he said, but something we're going to have to do. So I understand what it was like for you, not knowing anybody or having people not say to you, hi, how's your mama?
Right. And I wanted to figure out a way to encourage people to create a culture of belonging, whether it's at work or whether it's in your family or whether it's in a church or a synagogue or wherever there are people, that people need to feel like they belong. And what are the elements of belonging? And I came up with the acrostic CLAIM with 5 elements of creating a culture or a society of belonging. You know, we want to belong somewhere.
Right.
How can we? And people don't just want to be connected. They want to be claimed. They want to know that they are a part of a society or a community.
Exactly.
So you want to dig into what this means?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. The C stands for people want to know that they are chosen. Think back, I don't know if you had in PE class where the coach would say, it's Friday dodgeball. We're going to have 2 team captains and they're going to pick the teams. And I don't know where you were, but of course the team captains are like, look at me, I got chosen to be the team captain.
Right.
And then there were the students that were like, I'm going to get picked first. That essence of being chosen. And of course, you had the student that would rather be in the library reading a book, and I don't care, I'm not going to be the time. But that feeling of being chosen never goes away.
Absolutely.
So as you look at, well, when you get married, you choose your spouse. And when you have children, you choose to have them continue to be part of your family. You treat them as though you have chosen them. Maybe you did, or maybe you didn't choose to have them in the first place, but you have them.
Right.
I'm glad that all 8 of my children are here, but they just came when they did. So anyway, so people want to know that they're chosen. And that's the first element. Being chosen helps them belong. And the second element is L. This is an easy one, and I'll let you guess what you think the L stands for.
I think it has something to do with love.
Absolutely. People want to know that they're loved.
Right.
Now, in the workplace, especially with all the sexual harassment stuff, we're not talking about that. We're talking about security and knowing that you're respected, that you're accepted for who you are. A leader in the home, or as a parent, or as a business leader, or any organization, if you're going to love the people as you lead them, you are going to be approachable.
Absolutely.
And you're going to, respect them and say, what you have to say matters. So that's the L. You want to guess what the A is? The
Oh,
A,
wow.
a lot of words that start with A, and it's kind of hard to read my mind. What do you think, if people want to know they're chosen, they want to know they're loved,
Accepted?
That would be chosen and loved. Ready?
Yes.
Acknowledged.
Very good. Yep.
And there are multiple ways that we acknowledge people. Of course, in my book, Claim Your People at Work, it's for people in the workplace with strategies of applying these different elements of leadership.
Got it.
But acknowledging someone, that first step that toddler takes, and everybody, well, we continue to want to be celebrated.
Of course we do. Absolutely.
Look at what I did.
Yep.
And we want to be acknowledged. Another way is we want to be acknowledged for who we are, what our essence is. Your son, acknowledging him and his gifts and his ability, both of your sons. I don't know what your other son does, but acknowledging him and his creative abilities, his voice. He had a great voice I enjoyed listening to. Acknowledging this is who you are, and this is a good thing.
Right.
Also, there are 2, well, actually 3 very simple habits that we should create. Karen, one of them is acknowledging a person by using their name.
Oh, absolutely. And people don't do that today.
Anytime I'm out, maybe I'm buying a soda somewhere, or I am at any store that someone has a name tag on, I make sure I use their name, because that name is uniquely given to them. And we may be the only person that whole day or that week that actually sees them as an individual and recognizes them.
You're absolutely correct.
The other way that we acknowledge people when we talk to people is not to, hey, so how you doing? Okay. It's to look at them in the
Right.
eye.
Exactly.
People don't know how to have eye-to-eye conversations anymore. So acknowledging people when you're leading them or when you're in a group of any kind. Children. Now, you can try talking, like if you're cooking and you have a small child and they want to talk to you and they want to talk to you, did they ever just grab your face and say, okay, man, I want to tell you something?
Yeah.
They knew the value of eye contact.
Exactly.
So that is another way that we can really connect with people and acknowledge that they're there by giving them eye contact. And as you're leading people, yet another way to acknowledge is, and part of belonging, there's so much about how we speak to people and understand their communication styles, like their belonging language. How can you communicate best with someone so that they hear you? Maybe one of your children, you have to write it out for them to see it, and then they can remember to do what you've asked them to do.
Sure.
Telling them 15 times will never go anywhere. Right?
Absolutely.
So acknowledging someone's communication style is a big part of helping them feel like they belong. A person, how they communicate, even today, you have a certain generation that don't call them, text them.
Yep.
Like text them and say, hey, call me when you can, or are you available to talk? They will never answer their phone. Don't send an email to older people because they don't check their emails. What's an email? I mean, they may, but we're all getting older so that we do have emails, but there are still some people that
there is still that need for the one-on-one conversation. I mean,
yes.
I have to admit that there was a group of years, probably right before COVID and maybe right after COVID, that because I was doing so much online, I did not want to talk on the phone. And so somebody would call me, I would acknowledge that they called, and I would text them and say, I just can't talk right now. And then I realized that's not how I grew up. In fact, I didn't even have caller ID when I was growing up. And so when the phone rang, you went and you answered it and said hello. And so I had to recondition myself. I will answer the phone. If I'm in the middle of something like a podcast, no, it will go to voicemail. But that person has a need to talk to me. So I need to find out what that need is. If I can fulfill it, I'll continue the conversation. If I can't for any reason, I just have to let them know this is not a good time. Hopefully we can teach the generations behind us the same thing.
We do it by example.
Right.
Right. So how we communicate according to how a person wants to be communicated, or even understanding, acknowledging a person's learning style.
Right.
Some people have to have you show it to them. They're kinesthetic learners. They have
Right.
to have hands-on demonstration. Some people hand them a textbook and they're way happier because they can process the information. So acknowledging individuals by your conversation with them, your communication styles, their learning styles, their giftedness. And that's really, people want, you feel more like you belong if somebody understands you.
Absolutely. Happens. All right. So can you hear me now? Beautiful. Okay, we're back on the road. So, and I want to apologize to our listeners. There was a little pause there. As we're talking about communication, I happen to wear hearing aids. I change the batteries every day. I think I did this morning. Obviously, I did not. So I had to put everything on pause because if I can't hear what's going on, I can't record. So
I love it. Yes, communication.
Yep.
It's important to be able to hear. You can't listen to people if you can't hear.
Or you have to know how to sign or read lips. So in communication, and I have to tell you, it's because of my hearing aids that I was pushed out of corporate America. Because when you wear hearing aids, you cannot hear whispers at all. And I would have coworkers come up and try to whisper something to me. I didn't hear it. And then they would go tell upper management, oh, Karen's avoiding me. And it was like, no, and the beginning of each school year, because I was at a college, I would get up and announce to people, I wear hearing aids. There are other people who might too. We communicate differently. Hearing aids help you hear. They cannot make you hear. So that means that if I don't pick up all the words you're saying, that could be a problem. And so usually what I do in that situation is I repeat what you've said. And if it's wrong, don't laugh at me. Just tell me what you said and we'll try again.
So you play the telephone game all the time.
All the time.
Or gossip game, whatever you go by.
Yep, exactly.
Yes. All right. We made it through. People want to be chosen. They want to be loved. They want to be acknowledged. You wanted to be acknowledged for your hearing situation.
Right.
You wanted people to know that they needed to communicate a certain way with you to make sure they were heard, not that you weren't not wanting to hear them. Right?
Exactly.
All right. Do you want to guess the I? It's a two-word phrase, or do you want me to just tell you?
Just tell me.
Okay. People want to know that you're invested in them. Invested in. For parents, do you know how children spell love? Time. They want you to invest time with them. That's how they know that you love them, when you're spending time with them. And it doesn't have to be any elaborate something. It's just sitting on the floor on their level, putting together a puzzle or playing a game. They want you to invest in them with time. If you're leading a group of people in an office, you need to spend time listening to them.
Absolutely.
And hearing them.
Yep.
Also, if you're asking people to do something, have you invested in them with education and skill building, or have you given them the resources to accomplish what they're supposed to do? So someone that is investing in the people that they're leading in the workplace or in the family or in a nonprofit organization, investing in people makes people know, oh, they saw my need. They understand me. they are helping me accomplish what I want to give to this society that we have here.
Absolutely.
So investing in. And then my favorite, the M. And I'll tell you because I've got one word and two phrases for this.
Okay.
And you might figure it out. I believe that we are a creation uniquely created with our gifts and abilities for a specific purpose that we're put on the earth to accomplish, that we are all made for greatness. The M, made for greatness.
I love that.
Nobody else can fill our position, our role, accomplish what we're here to do. I like to quote Judy Garland, why be a second-rate version of someone else when you can be a first-rate version of yourself?
Love that too. Yes.
Right? So that's made for greatness. And the second M is, if you are living in that purpose, if you are being the person you're supposed to be and accomplishing what you're here to do, you will make a difference. Don't we all want to know that we're going to make a difference?
Absolutely.
With what we do? And to summarize all the M's, it all boils down to one M, one word, that we matter. When you feel like you matter, when you know that you matter, when you have evidence around you that you matter, you belong. You
Absolutely.
Feel like you have been claimed. Right?
Everything you have said, I mean, I'm getting goosebumps because I've been writing daily about why are we waiting for somebody else to make our life better? And while we're waiting for that to happen, we're creating havoc. And we see that in the whole world. We have people starving in parts of the world, and they're waiting for us to make it better. Well, if I don't have those skills, I can't make it better. I can only make what I have better. And maybe I'm living in a fairy tale world, but I almost believe, I don't care where on the poverty line any of us are, there's always something we can do at that level to make things better. And we should be constantly going in that direction. And that, to me, is your word.
That is truth. When the Great Resignation happened during COVID and people they stayed at home and they didn't want to come back, they weren't quitting their jobs, they were quitting their bosses. They did not feel connected. They did not feel like they belonged. And that's part of why that was my motivation to start first with a book that reaches business leaders about how to claim your people at work. Because if you haven't built a society of belonging, a society that people know that they are chosen, that they're loved, acknowledged, invested in, and that they matter, then they're not going to be at work. They're not going to care.
Exactly.
But if they know that they're claimed, not just connected, but claimed, not only will they be committed and loyal, but they will take the company to a higher level.
As you're talking about that, my husband, for about 10 years, was doing IT work as a consultant. So he would work, he wouldn't work. Some of his locations, people fell in love with him, and by the time they fell in love with him, he was gone. But he got a job back in April, full-time, And he questioned whether he wanted to take it because he has an hour drive to and from work, which means we both get up at 4:30 in the morning and we both go to bed about 8:30 at night. But he knows he belongs. And he knew that within the first week. Not only did people want to know his name, okay, they wanted to know, and it wasn't wanting to know things so that they could be privy of knowledge. They just wanted to know so that they could communicate together. And my husband is the type of guy that if he meets you, and as long as there's no total distraction, you are his friend forever. And today he calls me up and he says that a week from Friday, he has to change his schedule because they need some work done at night. And he said, so he wants me to drive out there an hour. He said, because they appreciate me so much. I want you out here because there's going to be a big dinner afterwards. And we'll stay out here for the night. And I can't say no to that, even though I don't want to drive that hour. But he belongs. That is his family, 40 plus hours a week. And you don't take that away from somebody.
And he is willing and happy to drive 2 hours a day, an hour there and an hour back, because he belongs.
Exactly. Exactly.
So why don't people get that?
It's beyond me. My son is working for an organization that right from the day that he moved down there, what do you need? How can we help you? You appear to be homesick. What can we do to take that away from you? And because he didn't know, for the first 6 months, he struggled, but he knew they cared. And when he was finally there 6 months, he finally found his voice. He said, this is what I need. And they said, oh, well, that's easy enough. So everybody in the office liked him, but because at the end of the day, he went in one direction and 90% of them went in the other direction, they thought he was being antisocial outside of work. And when they found out, they know he was lonely, but he had an hour ride back to his apartment, people started talking to him about, when your lease is up, why don't you consider moving out this way? And his world changed overnight. So I have a feeling maybe they read your book or know something about it.
I should ask them what is their strategy for helping people belong. I mean, you've connected with this message. How have you seen yourself create belonging for people in your work?
Well, I really do it on a daily basis. I have people will say to me, so you do all these podcasts, what are your numbers? I don't know. And I don't care. Because I do know that when I get an email from somebody or a text about a show, somebody's listening, somebody's gotten something out of it. And that's what I'm doing it for. Because when I hear that, wow, I feel much better. And I don't let those people go. I remind them of other shows. I will reach out to them and say, how is your day going today? Because a lot of us don't ask that question anymore because we don't want to hear it's not going well. And not that I am big on saying that to somebody if they were to call me and say, hey, how's your day going? If they would have called me on Saturday when I was down and out from the COVID shot, I probably would have been very honest and said, not doing all that well. The COVID shot knocked me on my behind, and I'll talk about it in the future. But my whole life, I always thought I had to have all these friends, know all these people. I'm happy knowing who I know and being connected. It's not about numbers.
We we have our select group to belong to. Nobody can belong to everybody.
Right.
And everybody shouldn't belong to everybody. But finding your people and helping your people know they belong. It's not exclusive. But it is true. Birds of a feather flock together.
Absolutely.
There's strength in numbers. We got so many trite everyday expressions, but they're true. We do belong, and we want to belong. Why do you think street gangs are so popular in certain places? Because the people that join them are just looking for someone to acknowledge them, for a belonging, to be a part of a society that all wears the same color or whatever they do to signify it. It is a basic human need to belong. I read a story about a study that was done in the 1940s of two groups of babies. It was a 3-year study. You know, the name of the article was Better to be Raised in a Prison. It's like, what? How is that better to be raised in a prison? They followed two groups of babies. One group was in the orphanage, the other group born to women in prison. And for the first 6 months, both groups they both got food, clothing, and shelter, and they were both doing okay, but that's where it stopped. The prison babies that had that human interaction, the touching and feeling, the hugging, the belonging, all the prison guards and the visitors would come and visit with them, they flourished. And sadly, the babies in the orphanage, many of them didn't make it 3 years. We have an innate human need to be connected and belong. I'm on a mission to help people know that and do something about it.
You know, it's interesting. When we moved to our community when our son was, I think, kindergarten or first grade. And my husband made a pledge. We would not move out of the school district. He wanted him to have the ability to go all the way through. Our school district is very affluent. And my son would come home all the time and say, you know, my friend got this, my friend's going on this vacation, my friends are doing that. Oh, his parents are going out of town and they get to stay with grandma and grandpa, and everything everybody else was doing was so much better. And there was one boy in particular who was his bully, who had more money than he ever probably needed to have. And he would make fun of Alex. He would say, oh, you didn't go on a summer vacation? Oh, you're not going away over Christmas? And on and on. And when my son graduated high school, he said, do you know, his parents aren't even here because they went to Europe. And I said, well, we're here. And my mother came in from Michigan with my cousin. And my oldest son came in from Chicago. I said, you've got your family here. He goes, yeah. We didn't bring it up again until about 2 years ago. And this one kid who always had it all together overdosed in a gas station bathroom. And when my son heard about it, he was at work, he came home, and he wouldn't take his arms off of me. He was holding me and holding me. He said, Mom, you didn't give me everything that I thought I wanted, but you and Dad gave me love. You didn't just go off because you wanted a vacation. And the few vacations we took as a family. And I just looked at him like, isn't that when you choose to be a parent, You parent.
Choose, and you love them. You acknowledge their needs. You invest in them yourself, not money, because they matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sadly, it took that for him to be able to say, I mean, it's not that he never told us he loved us, but it was his full realization. Like, but he had all the money in the world. And, when he was 16, he got his car and I just kept saying to him, that's nice. But number one, we can't afford it. And if we could, I still wouldn't give you all those things. And it was like, you wouldn't? And I said, no, certain things you need to earn for yourself. And, he totally understands that now. But again, even without the word in front of me all these years, that's what friendship, that's what family is all about.
There are certain things that your children can't understand until they become parents. And that's fun to listen. Mom, just really? No.
So you have 8 children, you said, right?
Yes. 6 are married, and we have 19 grandchildren.
That is a beautiful family.
We are blessed. And they've lived all over the world, 6 continents. When our youngest was 9 years old, she came up to me one day. She's 8 years younger than the next one. She was we're going to have 8. She said, I don't want to move to Antarctica. And I'm like, nobody's sending you to Antarctica. What's the deal? She goes, all the other continents are taken.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she's planning on sometime moving to the Middle East, I think. She's 25 and living in Pennsylvania, working toward who knows what. But yes, they've all lived all over the place and are making a difference because we instilled in them that they matter and that they can make a difference and they are made for greatness. And they're out there doing it. The parent's job is not to decide what your child is going to be or do. It's to prepare them for what they're created to do, whatever that is, wherever that is. Yeah. Our oldest got married and moved not to the West Coast, to Brazil.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
Yeah. So I feel your pain. But if they're where they're supposed to be, then that's the best place for them, even if it is Brazil or Bosnia or India or Japan.
Well, as both my sons tell me, you don't have to be an Ohio mom if you want. And it's like, you're right. I'll make that decision when it's the right time. Right now, this is where we are. But the way my parents brought me up, the way my husband's parents brought him up, there was always that connection of, you knew that you were loved. You knew when your parents could spend the time with you. I had 2 working parents when it wasn't normal to have 2 working parents. But they each took their time. And there were only 3 of us compared to you having 8. But, I can't say that I never felt a part of the group. And I think that's something that we really have to build on in our society today.
Absolutely. Why does someone who supposedly has every earthly riches overdose? Because they never connected and never felt like they belonged. They weren't, can I use the word? Claimed.
Yeah.
They weren't claimed. So yes, claim your people.
So your book is basically for the workforce. Do you go in and talk to organizations, or do they just buy the book? I mean, how does that work?
How does that work? I am available to help people work through it and make application to maybe analyze, what is your belonging language? What are your communication styles in your workplace, and how effective is it? What are you doing that's right? Yay, let's celebrate that. How can we tweak that to help your people feel like they belong in a more valuable, stronger sense? So yes, I can talk to people. I realized after I got this book done that a person that's a leader can't claim other people if they haven't first claimed themselves.
I would
Like
agree to that.
You have to be comfortable in your own skin and understand that your value before you have to, you're supposed to love others as you love yourself. If you don't love yourself, your love tank's empty and you can't love other people.
Exactly.
You're going to have codependency and you're going to have toxic relationships. You have to love yourself. And what does that mean? So I did create a journaling workbook that goes through these 5 facets of the claim formula to help you ask yourself, have I chosen myself? How am I choosing myself? Do I set boundaries? We need boundaries in our lives and not let other people run us. Choose ourselves. And especially for mothers who it is your nature to put others first, it's a very challenging step to take to put yourself first.
It is. And, I went for my coaching certifications 2 years ago, and they sat on the shelf. And I kept saying to myself, yeah, I'll get to it. But then when I spoke to someone like yourself, I'd say, well, I'm going to leave that to you. You can do the coaching. And then in April, I was in Texas taking care of my son. He had emergency surgery, and I was sitting there trying to get some work done. And as I went through some documents, I saw all the training material for my certification. And I thought, what am I doing? Like, why aren't I? I was coaching before I had my certification. Now I had it and I stopped. And I called a girlfriend of mine and I said, what do you think my problem is? She said, you're still too busy taking care of your son and your husband. And at first it hit me hard. And I said, well, my son needs me right now. She said, no, that's not what I mean. She said, how many times have I heard you say that you put in an order at Target to be delivered from the store near him for him? Why are you doing that? Well, because, and I told her, oh, he needed laundry soap, whatever. She goes, no, if you can do it, he can do it. He's not an invalid. It was like, all right. So I weaned myself away from that, but I still wasn't ready. And we had another conversation and she said, so do you think your husband really expects you to be sitting by his side for how many hours he's home during the week and on the weekends? You don't have an hour or two to do what you said you wanted to do. I said, yeah, I do. In fact, I have time during my day when he's at work. She said, so what are you going to do about it? And it was like, I needed that kick in the butt. I needed somebody to help me see what was getting in my way. And that's what I love about coaching and having individuals like you on this program, because I learn something new and different all the time. And when you came to that L, and you can't be loved if you don't love yourself.
And what does that look like? Acknowledging your own needs.
Yep.
You know, the A, acknowledge that you need X amount of sleep. You need to exercise. You need to eat right. I'm preaching to myself here. Anyway, acknowledge that you need people or you need recharge away from people.
Right.
Invest in yourself. Go ahead and get that manicure, that spa visit. You know, invest in doing the coaching course that you signed up for. Invest in yourself, because you do matter. Remind yourself, if you're a coaching, caring person, always focused on helping other people, it's easy to forget. I matter. I am important too.
Well, I usually start all my coaching sessions, so those of you listening, saying this session is for the two of us, because I'm going to learn from you. I may be learning things that I never want to do, or I may be hearing something that you do that I know I can do, which will benefit me. So want you to know that that's what's going to happen. And I'm going to share what I know. That doesn't mean it's your path. But you have to look all around you. You can't be walking down that one path for the rest of your life and know that it's okay. Because you know what? If you take 2 steps to the left, you may see something that is really, really beautiful. I don't want to miss out.
Exactly. I think of like an angle. At the beginning of the angle is just a little distance, but if you follow that path, look how far apart it is at the end, and you don't know where you might end up if you just are brave enough to venture out and take the risk and avoid the maze.
Exactly. Well, how can our listeners find you? Give us some information.
It's very simple. DeaIrby.com is my website. DEA, like if you have an idea, DEAIRBY.com. You can go to my website. You can find there's information about books. You can find me on Amazon. If you'll put in Dea Irby on Amazon, my books will come up. I've got this book. I've got some devotional journals. I've got some parenting booklets that are small. And you can just reach out, DeaIrby.com.
Well, that will be in the show notes. And I want to thank you for a very interesting conversation. I am claiming me right now.
Do it.
I will.
Karen, it's been fabulous to visit with you. And I do hope that your listeners do get something and do decide to claim themselves and know that they matter. You matter.
Thanks, Dea. Have a great day.
Bye now.